Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk. I have David, Steve, and Adil with me. We'll be discussing England's 1-0 away, 1-0 win against Czech Republic. David, what did you make of England and their performance?
Well, it was wildly better than the last game in the first half, and roughly equivalent, I thought, in the second half, where they went back to being appallingly overcautious. But they won, and I suppose that's good enough, isn't it?
That's the positive to take away from it. Steve, what did you make of them? I mean, it seems like in the first half, loss of energy because of the couple of new players coming in, and then second half going back to this, like David mentioned, the old boring old England from the other two games.
I'm not sure I can add more to that, really. I think you summed it up perfectly, David. I think you summed that up really well. I think
what's it down to, Steve, is what I'm trying to get to.
Well, it's down to it being tournament football and being in control of the game, controlling the game, and ensuring you proceed to the into the next round. I think having got the goal ahead, there's no real pressure at that point to get another goal. Czech Republic weren't overly pressurising England, so there was no real need to pursue the game from England's perspective. They just needed to control possession, control the game, and that's what they did. They just controlled possession and controlled the game, and you saw with them making changes. So I think in the first half, as positive as England were, we were a little bit open defensively and exposed to Czech Republic coming out and pressurising us and losing space in the midfield. So they looked like we were being overrun in midfield. So it felt that at half-time, Southgate's taken off Rice, putting Henderson in there, and just tried to address that balance a little bit more to ensure that we kept control of the game.
Adi, what did you make of the impact of Grealish and Saka?
I think the Billy Gilmore done Southgate and England a big favour, because by not having Mount available, and if Mount was available, he's starting. It's just Southgate guy. He works hard off the ball, but today I was so glad because everyone's been crying out for Grealish to have a start, and I think more people have been wanting Sancho to start ahead of Saka maybe, but to say true, Saka just showed what he showed in the warm-up games, which is he's fearless, he's willing to be that player that is driving the team on, and it was really exciting. I mean, every time Saka got on the ball, something happened, more so than even when Grealish got on the ball. But I was really happy with the performance of both. I thought it was they both have given Southgate a headache for the future.
They were both. I mean, I don't watch much Premiership football. I thought Saka was absolutely fantastic, and Grealish is pretty much equivalently good, but he doesn't. I think Saka works like mad, doesn't he? I mean, he gets back and he does defensive duties all over the place, and I was hugely impressed with him.
I mean, even on the ball, he drives at the opposition, and he really causes them issues.
Yeah, terror.
Off the ball that he works hard, on the ball he works hard too.
Yeah, the main thing I like about both is they're always looking to play someone else in.
Yeah,
I think sometimes with both, Foden is a bit hit and miss. Sometimes he's happy to play players, and sometimes he goes for himself. But I've noticed with Mount in the England so he's always looking to get his own shot off. He's not necessarily looking to play that quick, passing football as much as we see when he's with Chelsea. So I think just the flow of the team looked much better with Grealish, and the main thing was their dribbling. I mean, they made a lot of possession in their own half. They turned it into attacking positions with their positive dribbling. So I think obviously, England are lucky; they've got so many good attacking players, but the fact that Saka and Grealish play without any fear, and I think that's just the way they play. They got no, other way of playing. That's exciting for the future games. Yeah.
I thought Harry Kane was pretty lackluster yet again.
It's difficult. Kane's a difficult one, isn't he? I mean, I think my take on Harry Kane in terms of, I mean, he had a better game today, I think, than previous games. But as a nation, I don't think. Well, if you look at Poland, for example, Poland's key strategy is to get the ball to Lewandowski for him to try and score. And France are looking to get Mbappe in. Everyone knows, for all of these nations, they know their key player, and they try to play into that key player to give him the best opportunity to score. Whereas I don't feel England do that. I think England just say, well, we're just going to play and see what happens. We don't look like we're saying, right, well, do you know what? Kane is like, this predatory striker, one of the best strikers in the world. And if we can get him into positions to get shots away, then he'll score. There were times today where only the ball was in the right channel, and Walker had the ball, for example, and you think, right, okay, get your cross in, and he takes another touch, or he cuts back on himself, and you think, okay, well, as a striker, and I think I think they're right on this, that strikers need to know when the ball is going to come across, and Kane has no idea when that ball is going to come across. He doesn't make any movement. He makes no attempt to get across his defenders, because there's just no confidence that actually when those balls are in the channels, in the wide areas, that a cross is going to be delivered. So it's like, well, at what point do I move? When do I make my move to try and get across my defender, to try and meet across, because we just don't get crosses in. So yeah, it's a weird one, because I think, because he hasn't scored, there'll be a lot of talk again about him. At the moment they're saying he's out of form, but we don't know if he's in form or out of form, because
he hasn't really had any chances. He hasn't had much chances apart from that one against Croatia, I would say.
He had one today, really good one today.
Two.
No, well, I mean,
and
that's
thought,
a sitter.
And I thought that he should have taken that on his left foot. He can strike the ball equally as well with left or right foot. So I'm surprised that he didn't choose to take that shot early with his left foot, because the power that he can generate out of shooting it with his left foot usually takes goalkeepers by surprise. So
was
I don't
that
know.
Caution, Steve? Was that caution? Because he had the volley. He played the volley, didn't he? Which he cocked up.
Yeah.
He blasted it way over. And I just wondered whether it was a case of being a bit nervous of, looking foolish.
I think the problem for Kane with England is he's the one always sacrificing for everyone else. Even if you look at the goal today, because he's the most aware in his movement, in his understanding of attacking principles. What he does is he sacrifices himself according to what everyone else is doing. And if you look at the goal, when Sterling darts down the center of the goal, Kane is the only one to recognize, okay, that means I need to drop off towards the back post. So he starts drifting. And the good thing about the goal is there's loads of position changes in that. Like Saka comes in, dribbles, Phillips straight away recognizes to take Saka's position and goes out wide. Sterling comes from the kind of 10 position to the strike. Kane drops off to the 10. Grealish goes off to Sterling's position. So I thought that worked really well. But if you look at every time England attack, a lot of the time it's Kane who's adjusted to the runs of everyone else. I don't think at Tottenham he has to do that as often. There's a lot more players understanding where he likes to move, and they move around his movements.
Yeah.
But with England, it's always, I feel like Kane's having to look at where everyone else is going and then change where he decide where he goes in.
And I don't think Kane has adjusted to England's system enough or well enough, because I think at half time they were talking about him. He dropped really deep and he's receiving the ball virtually in the centre half position, and he doesn't need to do that, and not with England. That's not how England play, and that's not how we should want him to play. There are enough quality players within that team for him to really, play the role that he's in there for. So to be a focal point in the attack, maybe dropping into pockets to receive the ball and play it off. But I don't think he needs to drop in so deep or to come out of his position as much as he tends to do. To want to to prove, like, look at me, look at what a player I am. I can pass the ball, and no, that's not what you're there for. You're there to get on the end of crosses, and if you stay in and around that area, maybe that will encourage the players to look for you in those areas. I don't know.
Do you feel like England are good enough at getting the ball into him though? Because I feel like in the England games, we're so, like, even when there's a clear path to play the ball into Kane or the 10, England never seemed to take the opportunity. Today, strangely enough, I thought the player who played with the most passes through the lines and the most vertical balls was Harry Maguire in the first half, and he seemed to make such a huge difference to our forward and attacking play because he was piercing the ball in.
Yeah, played some lovely passes, didn't they?
Yeah, and he was doing it repeatedly. But the thing was, like, the previous games when Harry Maguire hasn't played, there's been so many opportunities to get Kane involved slightly higher up the pitch, and there's like a fear to play in, and I think that's why he ends up going dropping because he wants to get involved.
But
I think you're right.
Well, that's right. But isn't Steve's point that he's better off regardless of that, staying up front so that the ball can come through to him if, for instance, Maguire plays a long pass?
I don't think the ball would. I mean, some of the games we've watched previously to today's one, the ball has actually, I could almost say the whole game will go, and I don't think anyone will take that risky pass into the centre zones.
Isn't that
today,
what I said?
it was so good to see Maguire do that.
That's what I was saying. I think as I say, people recognise the key players.
But Steve, this has to come from the coach, doesn't it? This has to come from Southgate, because clearly he's thinking of playing in a different way to what maybe. And if you listen to Southgate in his interviews, he says that Kane is doing a job for the team, and his work off the ball is selfless, and his movement, by other people is selfless. And as Adil said, for the goal, if you listen back to the commentary and the punditry at halftime and reflection for the goal, they don't talk about Kane in that at all. There's no mention of Kane. They talk about Saka's movement to create, to drive the ball forward. They talk about the initial movement, so the clearance that is then, the cross comes in, it's cleared, it comes down to Kane, and Kane plays the ball out to Grealish. They don't talk about that. That segment of play seems to have just been expunged from the annals of history. All of a sudden, the ball has just fallen to. They say that the ball has worked its way out to Grealish, but they don't mention how that's happened. So that's the selfless part that Kane is contributing to the team. That's actually then put Grealish in a good position to cross the ball for us to score. But for some reason, that's not mentioned, and I don't. So, everyone sort of looks at Kane and says, "Well, he has to score," and he does have to score. He's the striker; he has to score. But there are elements to his game that are helping the team, and for some reason, it doesn't seem to be highlighted, and it's down to Southgate to highlight that, which he does, given the opportunity.
Another thing,
is it also down to? Sorry,
no, go on, David.
I was going to say, I wonder if that sort of situation is partially a product of bad punditry, because there are a number of occasions in that game where, there was the occasion where the ball went out of play behind our goal line, and it was Calvin Phillips, I think, who seemed to make a bit of a hash of keeping the ball in play, but the pundits were saying they didn't think it had gone out, and it was blatantly obvious it had gone out.
I think we should start a petition. I think we should start a petition to get Dixon off commentary for England game. I mean, he's so
He's a toady,
patriotic.
isn't he?
It's unbelievable. It's like it's for the England fan must be getting frustrating to listen to Dixon because he's no longer even commentating on what happens on the pitch.
He's not
at one point he was happy when the second goal was disallowed because of his coupons or something. Because he predicted a 1-0. I thought, what?
He very much shows his Arsenal bias within the commentary. And I did notice social media was awash with why have we got Sam Matterface and Lee Dixon commentating on the match. So yeah, a lot of people are not happy with the quality of the commentary and the punditry that we're offered by ITV.
It's quite interesting. I mean, it's a bit of an aside from the game, but watching Luton when we played in the course of last season, Chelsea and Man U, the commentators and the pundits knew nothing. They'd done no research at all. They came out with the most crassly idiotic comments. But it isn't much better when you're watching England.
But if you listen to the radio, it's a whole lot better. So
yeah,
I watched the game last night, and I think it was the Denmark game that I was watching last night, and I can't remember who the commentator was, or the co-commentator was, and I thought I just don't want to listen to you, so I put it on the radio. I think it was Jonathan Pearce and someone. I didn't fancy Jonathan Pearce's extremes,
yes,
that he likes to show. So I put it onto the radio version, and it's a whole lot better, so much more enjoyable. The commentator, because they as you say, they have to do a lot more research. They have to paint a better picture because it's for radio, and people need to kind of get a picture of what is being seen, what they're seeing. So it's a whole lot better.
But the overall quality in punditry or even reporting has completely gone down.
Dreadful. It is dreadful.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that's part of the reason you started this whole podcast, wasn't it? I mean, that to challenge those lazy approaches to how we support and cover games.
They have so much details and information that they get given to them, and it just doesn't get used enough. I mean, these should be used to show the fans that what they are missing.
But I mean, a lot of them.
Why you're
going to get requests to commentate? Yeah.
No, I'm not saying to commentate. I'm saying even to punditry, do that on TV. Surely they're getting so much different things, not to just come there and just say a few comments and get 4 people to say 4 different comments.
Yeah, I think actually
they need to give more than that, because that's what it just feels like. It just feels like they're getting 4 people who are the fans of the country and stuff, and just simply saying, "Oh yeah, England should win." If you saw the England versus Scotland game, all the English pundits, they were all saying, "Oh, we're gonna win 4-5-0," and you getting vice versa, the Scottish ones being a bit optimistic. But there wasn't actually, why are they gonna win? There wasn't going any depth.
I mean, it is very interesting, isn't it, that the English media, every single major tournament, make us favourites. And then you watch the opposition teams and we look utterly and completely behind them in almost every aspect of the game. If we play the French, I'm not sure who we're due to play next, but if we play the French, I can't see anything.
It could be France.
It could be France, yeah.
Well, it's like between France and Portugal.
Well, France will absolutely take us to the cleaners, so far as I can see. I mean, they look fantastic. I know they didn't do very well the other day, but against Germany, some of their football was sublime.
Yeah,
I think we have an arrogance, don't we? That we're the English and we invented football, and therefore, even though this was, I don't know how many years,
we own the right.
we are still the best team, the best country in the world. Even though some like Italy have played some fantastic stuff. the Netherlands
Italy,
have played some
Belgium,
absolutely
I mean,
fantastic stuff,
But
you know.
Steve,
And
Steve, do we have what it takes to beat a Portugal, Germany, or a France team? Does England have?
Yeah.
tactically, potentially, the thing I think the issue for me is that, for example, if you look at today, Southgate has chosen a team, and I think you already covered it, but you know, Sancho. There's a lot of complaints about Sancho not being in the starting 11, but Saka being in the starting 11, or Sterling still playing, but Sancho not getting game time, and but Sterling goes and scores, and you know, and Southgate trusts Sterling, and you know, if you hark back to the last time we were successful, and I don't mean Euro '96 or Italian 90. I'm talking about actually successful. So I'm talking about 1966 when we were last successful in a proper tournament and actually won something, was because the guy that was in charge said, "This is my system. These are my players, and these are my round pegs that fit in round holes. And I don't care that actually Nobby Stiles, for example, is not the most fashionable person in the world. I don't care that George Cohen, you know, is not the biggest name in the world. I don't care that actually you're expecting me to play Jimmy Greaves when actually it's Martin Peters, I think, that needs to play, or Jeff Hurst, whoever it was, that needs to play." It was, you know, he said, "Well, that's the system. That's how we're going to play. These are the best people to get me the result." Whereas now, and since the dominance of the media, you know, even ever since, if you look back to Gerrard and Lampard, like the media would like, you know, well, you got to play them both. No, you don't have to play them both. You have to play the best team for the system. So if that means that we sacrifice one because the balance of the team is off, then that's what you do, and you say, right, well, okay, Gerrard is off today or whatever. He's off form. I'm putting Lampard. You know, so but we don't do that. We, as a, you know, the media go, well, you have to play the best players. We don't actually. You have to play the players that will suit the system that the manager wants and
are in form, as you said.
In form, but need to be, I think, part of a system, because you know, you can't just play the players that are in form all the time, because you can't just put, like, you know, we can't just fill a team with Foden, Grealish, Sterling, Sancho, whoever else up front. You know, for me, Bellingham should be starting every game. You know, he's head and shoulders above Rice and Phillips.
I think he should be our number 8. He should be the number 8 in there. Not.
He's absolutely fantastic, and he suits the system. You know, so that's the system. Pop him in and work, and that's how you get your success. Don't say, well, you know what, Phillips did it for Leeds all season, so got to put him. You know, I mean, Rice did it for West Ham all season. Got to put him in.
With Southgate, we don't know his system because he seems to change it according to results. Like at before the tournament, you know, I know he done it a few times because he had to, but the whole qualifying period, there was not this suggestion that they're going to play 2 defensive mids. It was only going to be 1 defensive and 1 box to box. And then just because it's worked in the first game, it seems like that's become the system now. So
does that matter? Does that matter? Does it matter that we don't know the system? Because he can be adaptable, and he can think, right, well, you know, against Germany or France, for example, you know, I think we potentially might play one of these 2 teams. Against Germany or France, we do need 2 holding midfielders because blah, right? That's the system. We need to play that. So as long as he thinks, well, that's the system for that team, but we have the players to fit into that system, and you don't say, well, actually, you know, I only took 1 holding midfielder, so I'm going to have to play because everyone's demanding that Grealish and Mount play, so I'm going to play Mount as a holding midfielder so that I can squeeze Grealish in. That doesn't work.
Is he back?
I'm just using that as an example. I'm just as an example. Yeah. You know, just to squeeze someone in, we'll squeeze that player in something else. But no, if you know, make the decision based on who you think is, you know, the best fit. So if that's
Is going to impact.
if that's Henderson and Rice, or Henderson and Phillips as your two holders, then do that and accommodate the others
do you
around.
think, Steve, and I agree with you completely there, do you think that Southgate on that basis was actually happy about not happy, but not uncomfortable about the Scotland result? Because, of course, it did put England into a position where they were virtually certain to qualify. It was a cautious choice, but at one level it could be said to have worked.
Yeah, 100%. Do you know, a lot of the immediate reaction after the game was, "Oh, for goodness sake, we didn't win!" And then I started to see, like, a couple of hours later on social media the following morning, well, actually, you know, that's another point. It's a tournament. It's another point. We haven't lost. It keeps us top of the table or wherever we were at that point, and enables us to qualify.
But Steve,
Isn't that the objective?
I think it was more the fact that it was Scotland. It's a rival game. And, everyone expected England to show up, and handle that pressure and show that we are who we are, and show that authority and show that we are better. And that's why I think that's what was disappointing, though, when you saw that performance. And that huge.
For me, the problem wasn't the result. Like I said on the podcast after the result was fine. It's more the performance and the lack of that to win the game. Yeah. I just don't. I don't feel you can just switch on a winning mentality. I think within a squad, that's something that is ingrained, and the confidence gets built. And today might cover the cracks of that. I mean, the main thing was I think drawing the game put more pressure on to win the game today, because eventually they have to show that cutting edge in their mind that they play
Southgate
to win.
Southgate definitely reacted to the poverty of that performance against Scotland by putting in two players that he clearly isn't that convinced by. Otherwise, he perhaps would have started the first two games with them. And so I think you're right.
I'm not sure if he would have played both of them. I think Mount being under COVID protocols actually forced his hands to go a bit more. But again, he went for like in the sense they put Saka in, who's going to put the shift and the work off the ball that Southgate wants. For me, that's the only worry is it seems very planned, all of it. Even like today, you can tell it's all the subs, everything is pre-planned way before the game. We want to get the tall guys on.
Do you think do you think that obviously the Mount situation kind of forces Southgate's hand, but there was also the fact that after yesterday's, I mean, we don't know the team that he was going to announce, but after yesterday's result, England had qualified, so we did. There was no pressure on the result today. I mean, you want to finish top. You want to finish top, but there's also an argument that actually finishing top may give you a harder draw in the next round against the likes of.
If you want to win a tournament, you got to beat the best. So
but I don't think you can switch off from playing to win. I think the moment you start playing the most strategy game, what happens is you'll come unstuck, because you'll come against a team that. But
that's what they said. That's what they said. That's the one thing they said in the commentary, is that the way that Southgate is managing this team is they are managing the team to try manage the team through the tournament. They've looked at past winners. They've looked at the Portugals, the Germanys, the Frances, how they won tournaments recently, and the fact that they've all been very pragmatic in their approach. They've not all gone out all guns blazing and been flamboyant and blown every team away.
I heard them say that, but I mean, I think the contrast is that England have looked against Scotland, and to a lesser extent, but not that much lesser extent, against Croatia, almost completely clueless. And the French and the Portuguese, even when they weren't all guns blazing, still looked like they got players who could sort of devastate the opposition. We didn't. We looked like we got players who couldn't punch their way out of a paper bag.
David, that's exactly what I was going to say. We don't look like we can score a second goal.
Nah,
We don't look.
we really
It
don't.
looks like we could just barely get one somehow.
Yeah.
And just hold on for dear life.
I just think that this is Southgate's England. It's all tactical and strategic, and
But
I think a lot of it is based around the opposition. I think so much is based around the opposition.
If you can't score, I mean, you can have the most sophisticated tactical system going, but if it's a tactical system that results in you getting 0 goals or occasionally 1, you're going to be struggling, aren't you, in the big games?
I don't know, because I think obviously Steve mentioned the last few winners of the tournaments have started slow too. So I don't know. Maybe there's something in that.
Sure, haven't started this slowly.
I don't know. I just feel like those teams had special quality. Cristiano Ronaldo. You got Mbappe.
We do have
as good as the talent we got.
We do have,
but the thing is, not other
Well,
than
we
Kane,
don't use
I
it.
don't
though.
think they're all potential superstars in my opinion. A lot of them, but they're not done it in, regularly or consistently enough yet to in the big stage. And the other difference is, I just feel for all the technical talent England players have, in terms of when you see them, their attacking play, other than Kane, a lot of them lack the intelligence in their attacking play. Kane is the one player that, even though we ain't seeing it, you can see the intelligence in the movements he does, how he works opposite, how he creates.
I
think the rest of the players are very instinctive.
I thought Saka oozed intelligence, Ardil. And,
yeah, today
I've never seen him play before, but he looked to me to be both incredibly talented and possessed of nous.
Yeah, I would obviously Saka does have intelligence, but let's be honest. I mean, what's the chances of him starting against ahead of Foden next game?
Him and Grealish.
I'm still not sure.
But the thing about that is that, sorry, Hass, I mean, thing about, you're right, but I think David's right. I think Saka was outstanding. I've seen him obviously play for club football last season, and I thought he was outstanding for his club. And I felt that he brought that club football, club performance, how he performed for his club at national level, which is not easy to do. You can't just turn up at national level and suddenly say, do you know what? Yeah. This is the player I am. This is how I play, and I'm just going to show you. But he did do that, and I think given that Foden is touted as a generational talent, blah 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 blah. I just think that Saka deserves a place ahead of Foden, because you've given Saka 1 game, you've given Foden 2 games. Saka in 1 game has shown more than Foden.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Couldn't agree more.
It's just whether Southgate has his favourite, so is he willing to change the lineup according to form? Hopefully he does, because Saka.
Do you reckon this is what will either cost us or win us that next crucial game against France or Portugal?
I think winning today was the key. I think playing at Wembley is going to be another boost. So I think the main thing was
the next one at Wembley. I think
if they win that's why I felt it was essential they actually played to win today, because then they get another tie at Wembley.
Nice.
And so I think, I still think England can go through to the next round, whoever they play. Only one is if it's France, but if it's Germany or Portugal,
Germany looked really ordinary, didn't they?
There's we've got up to 12 potential. They say something like we've got up to 12 potential opponents.
Really?
At the moment, it's not. I don't think it's set in. Well, I don't know if based on.
I think now it is. Now that England are top, it's set in stone that it's the runner-up of Group F, which is the group of Germany, France, and Portugal. So it's one of those teams.
Adi, if France win, I think they will be first place.
Yeah. And Germany would be second. I mean, we can't see Germany losing to Hungary at any way. So yeah.
Yeah, Germany didn't look that good though, did they? There's an awful lot of misplaced passes.
But I think because they played that gun ho style, it worked in England's favour, especially with the two holding defensive midfielders.
And that
that
German
boring
midfield
game
will dominate our.
I'm confident. I'm confident against Germany.
Germany are a tournament team. You know, they're a tournament team. They know how to perform.
But it's coming on
tournaments. Don't say that.
No, I think Germany's defending is just ridiculous. I think they're way too open.
You went a whole episode without managing to say that.
Steve, I'm going to say that in every single podcast until we get kicked out.
Well, that'll be next.
That means you don't actually believe in what you said until we get kicked out. You meant to say until we win it.
You know what? The way they've been performing, I'm a bit iffy at the moment.
This just reminds me of every single tournament I've ever watched England in. They just always are underwhelming. And I think that, you know, there was the team with, what's his name? Forgotten his name. It's ridiculous. The Chelsea player. Lampard. Yeah. And we were awful, absolutely awful, and we're equivalently awful thus far this time round. I mean, it's not quite as bad as when we played Trinidad and Tobago and were outplayed.
David, I'm going to wrap it up because we
okay, sorry.
Thank you all for coming on today, and yeah, guys, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and keep watching. Thank you.